Welcome everyone to this little Linux Studio live stream update here, straight from Thunderbolt experiments, and we have way too much drop frames because apparently why not? Amazing stuff, not, but let's see. Anyway, let's see if this survives the live stream. So I mentioned in the initial Razer Core X video when we had this news that this worked in principle when we booted. Here this frame dropped thing here. It's a little bit many now though. Yeah, so much too. They have fixed here something. It probably was only medium okay. Due to pure luck here. So much to that then. Let's go back to 7.5 Mbit apparently. Of course, unfortunately, not of course, we had here this issue of the EFI firmware disabling the integrated CPU, which is of course not amazing if you want to use it, for example, for this video encoding, or use both outputs and everything. And the second was that hot plugging didn't just work in Linux. And the hot plugging, well, one huge, I could have thought so, is that obviously you need PCI Hotplug in your Linux kernel, although in my opinion the Linux kernel really could have printed there some message like, hello, I will not unplug there your Thunderbolt thing because no hotplug config. That of course is, there you see by the way that no one ever bothered to hotplug this stuff here in T2 Linux anyway. Of course your kernel might have this or might not. Anyway, you need this hot plug here certainly, and so that is that here, of course, hot plug CPU for the fancy ones of your server. Goodness, otherwise here hot plug SMT, anyway, memory. And you see 500 million config options in 2019. Eventually we have here then all config options enabled. Hot plug also, first I compiled the kernel with hot plug PCI, only to realize that made hotplug PCI PCIe also show up. Can never have enough config options anyway. So with this you would think it could theoretically maybe work, but unfortunately it didn't, because you see here some nice oops. Never can have enough oopses. Also in 2019 everyone always tells me it's your crappy T2. Yeah, I have to admit our default config didn't have hotplug PCI, of course makes the kernel larger as usual. This is why nobody, in 20 years, nobody was missing this option. And certainly very few people have server PCI hotplug stuff. But anyway, as this is PCI, PCIe and such, you need this now. And then I just tested this. By the way, I'm running still the same kernel, so this might... So many frame drops, are you kidding me? Unbelievable. This might crash at any point in time. Why is this a config option? Of course, all the dynamic configuration stuff usually makes this stuff larger and slower. This is why you might want to opt out, especially this hotplug CPU, hotplug memory. Usually some indirectness there, usually slowing things down a little bit. So you see I plugged this in here eventually somewhere, probably here where the oops was. Modules linked in DRM. So you see here DRM, so actually I'm surprised the kernel doesn't print out here new PCI device apparently, or is it, or maybe it belongs to all this here, huh? PCI, maybe these are all the PCI, actually here Thunderbolt, here it actually starts. So you see new Thunderbolt stuff here, new device found, Razer Core X, and many PCI bridges. I wondered the other day already that these are so many, but whatever. Here a lot of bridge windows and bridges and devices, and really surprising how many of those are. Anyway, so far so good of all this super overcomplicated hardware goodness here. And then unfortunately it failed with a completely stupid thing. I really wonder, am I the first to try this or what? You really would think that people from Red Hat SUSE had tested this in the meantime. But here's the oops. So here's, you see the AMD card was posting here atom bias, blah blah blah, the infamous atom bias, and yeah, here so enabling all those IP blocks and so on. GPU post now, and everything looks amazing. Here's some 4 GB of VRAM and such, and then reserve mem type failed. Request your right combining. Probably I really slightly wonder how this can fail, what bug that is. So much you want to have millions of lines of code in your monolithic kernel, and then at the end it still doesn't work. So this is here in Arch x86 pet. Whatever access table this was, and this is some new kind of page. Was it page address table something? Anyway, and where you can on a page level set your right combining and stuff like this. And so by the way, this is only a warning. Reserve mem type failed, but then this, well, this is a warning, but it fails anyway. Here it oopses. It's also slightly funny that this prints a warning and then it oopses anyway, but maybe it oopses in an AMD GPU. Here with, you see the state in IO reserve mem type, Arch in AMD GPU, BO init for all the AMD developers looking or watching here. So yeah, it looked like it 99% worked, and then it couldn't write combine. Set there's a memory type for write combining. This is of course a pity. And yeah, then I plugged this out. So far so good. Just it, and then I just plugged it out, and this surprisingly did not oops again. And so this could theoretically work, I guess. Modulo whatever write combining memory type reservations are there. I wanted to drop one more note here in regards to this. If you are, I said in the original video for the recurring viewers, I said I find this overpriced, and I have to say even more that this is completely overpriced. In my opinion, this should cost here, you see this is just the case, just the power supply is just a little bit PCB there for the PCIe Thunderbolt thing. In my opinion, 149 would be a fair price, but not 299, especially because this, so two things, so this metal here is a little bit rough, I have to say. This is, where was this? It felt like a little bit cheap. Where was this even? Somewhere I saw it. This is really some edges wherever I write at the front. Actually, know that I touched it here. So the edges at the front, not that you would touch it there so much, but in my opinion, for $2.99, this feels here really raw, like sushi. And this really doesn't feel here a $2.99 premium. This is really like on an old Volkswagen Beetle standing 20 years in the rain or something here. This is rough and not nicely fabricated for $2.99. I would actually really think there should be slightly more luxury. The other reason is that this slides here, you see already, I only pulled this out 2.5 times, and now I just touched there over with my finger, but you see already some abrasions there. So this is sliding here, metal on metal, or actually paint on paint. You see this, maybe, I hope, maybe not. So you see already from 4 times pulling this out that this paint is scratching here on the paint inside. I mean, seriously, for 149 I would say nothing, but for 299 this is a little bit cheapish. Last but not least, but this is not a fault in general to this thing. By the way, 26, so much to Vodafone fixed here something, they have fixed here shit. 26% drop frame, sorry for that. And last but not least, I really wish, because they have here certainly space for 2 PCIe slots. Of course, I understand that most graphic cards, or all the high performance graphic cards, are 2 slots here with just the second slot here for the IO shield. But for really professionals that use this for something else than graphic cards, with 2 PCIe slots for this hefty price, they have already so many PCI bridges in there. I really wish they would have 2 PCIe slots there, even if the second would only be 1 lane or something, a slim slot, because then you could place there like a network interface card in there, a NIC or something for your failing TG3 or something like that. And on top of this, and yes, I understand these are not primary graphic card features, but for if they should become more widespread and you want to supplement your minimalistic workstation, then for this hefty price, in my opinion, you could really expect some top-of-the-line features. The second has to do with using our PCIe riser here. So you see this case is already unnecessarily high. I said this already in the initial video, that this thing is really huge. And you see that this has here some really good 5 or so centimeters on top of the power supply, like basically nothing, which I called out in the original video that this thing is huge, bigger than my mini ITX build, Ryzen build there from last year, if you want to watch that video. So this thing is huge. In my opinion, yeah, whatever. But again, this would be if they would make here 2 PCIe slots. You could maybe even, if you have a graphic card in there, maybe plug in some flex cable riser thing here and put a second card here in the back or something. Maybe even screw in here 2 SSDs or something. Not that this is a primary market, but the space is here, and what does 1 PCIe slot cost? Certainly not that much. And also I understand, I don't even expect to fit this card in here. As I said, I will most likely use this for PCIe debugging and development. Maybe even plug in the Voodoo 2 here for some vintage fun. And you see this, I do not even expect this with a riser to fit anyway, naturally. But the space is here, but of course you don't have power cables, right? So you need, for this here, you need auxiliary power, 5 and 12 volt, usual drive bay Molex plug here, and they have no such cable in here. Yes, I understand this is mostly intended 99% for GPUs, but as this already is so expensive, would it really hurt so much to have here one regular I/O power cable thing here? Because with this, the power is of course there at the PCB, so I will most likely have to put their own cable. This should be, actually I've not yet checked, yeah, this is, looks like regular ATX. Maybe this is a totally regular ATX, but they could really left a cable there, so I need to open this and solder there or crimp there my own additional power plug in there, because as you all probably know, this PCIe plugs have only 12 volt, as we found out in the Mac Pro misuse of plugging a USB-C card into the Mac Pro some months ago. So yeah, I have to solder a cable in there or something. Not really impressed in general. And especially as this metal is scratching on this other metal. Not that you would change this so often. You see this is also, this is even need to be, watch this. So, well, yeah, you are sliding metal on paint there. So yeah, just some notes. I wish always, well, things could be slightly more perfect. I hope you enjoy this additional tips and tricks, and if you want to have an update on this one, then don't forget to share, like and subscribe, because in a month or something we will for sure solder there some power Molex thing in there and plug in a PCI bridge and see how our hot plugging and development experience with the old-fashioned PCI stuff is going there. Let's see. Welcome everyone in the audience, Adam and Toxitco, welcome everyone, and I hope you enjoy these notes. And yeah, also this is what I try to do here. Of course I can't always debug everything. You see also the problems stack up here a little bit. It's not always one problem, but here a little bit problem, there a little bit problem, and then in the end we have quite some things to investigate, and like this bug here that I could now actually debug next. If you want to support my work in testing and doing all the Linux bug fixing, hunting, and help here on patching and whatnot of modern features, don't forget to share, like and subscribe and spread the word, because it would be amazing if we could do way more debugging and testing with this kind of YouTube channel. And we have 25 drop frames, 5172, so much to Vodafone fixed nothing. Thanks for that, fish.